Let's call the meeting to order. Paula Nightingale is going to lead us in the invocation, and Brian Skaggs, if you would, the flag salute, please.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold office in our city the spirit of wisdom and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Increase in each of us the gifts of faith, hope, and charity, and that we may obtain what you promise. Make us love what you command. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4, consider approval of minutes of the special and regular sessions of March the 5th, 2013.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Drew.
Second.
Second by Ron. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Under number 5, awards, presentations, and organizational business. Item 5.1, present the pet available for adoption at the city animal shelter.
It's a weird looking chihuahua.
That is not a chihuahua. That's a poodle, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a poodle.
This is a ferret.
Okay.
It's a strange looking chihuahua.
My name's Stan Locke. I work for Animal Control. Today I brought with me is Cowboy. He's 6 months old. He's a German Shepherd Beagle mix. He's about as big as he's going to get. And he come up for adoption tomorrow. So if anybody's interested, look for a dog, or they want to come see Cowboy, come on out tomorrow morning. We're open 10 to 6. He should be there unless he finds a home. So thank you.
Wow.
It's really cute.
That's a cute dog. Got a joyous crowd tonight. We're cheering on dogs.
2 proclamations. I got ahead of us one item, but Eric?
Mr. Keith, where are you? Come on up here, pal. Bring your assistants with you. Mayor, Commissioners, we have a special group of folks here today. You might have noticed in the newspaper this weekend that we have a very dedicated corps of youngsters, and I have a proclamation for them. It reads, whereas nationally, nearly 1/5 of all high school students, grades 9 to 12, are current smokers, along with nearly 1 out of every 14 eighth graders. 17% of high school students in Oklahoma smoke cigarettes, and 18.4% use smokeless or spit tobacco. The high school smokeless and spit tobacco usage rate in Oklahoma is higher than the national school rate. 23% of Garfield County residents smoke. Smoking kills over 400,000 Americans each year, representing more deaths than from AIDS, alcohol, car accidents, murder, suicide, drugs, and fires combined. In Oklahoma, 6,200 adults die every year from their own smoking, and 87,000 children under age 18 will die prematurely from smoking. Whereas the City of Enid wishes to stand up with the youth and adults of our community to promote tobacco-free families, now therefore I, Bill Shuey, Mayor of the City of Enid, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim March 20, 2013 as Kick Butts Day. Mr. Keith, I think you have some words for us, do you not?
Yes. Thank you for your time. We picked up this many cigarette butts with 20 people in an hour. Imagine what we could do with 40 people in 2 hours. We could probably cover 4 times the amount of space and get 4 times the amount of cigarette butts. And cleaning up the earth would be so much more healthy for everyone and for the earth itself. Thank you.
Well done, pal.
is Emily, and I think the way the earth is formed today, how many cigarette butts you can find is just polluting the earth, and you don't need to do that. Don't you want the earth to be performed in a way that can be clean and we can take walks without going by a factory, without having to cover your mouth and nose? I don't think that should be happening today. And many of the people that smoke today do hurt other people in their lives, and loved ones get hurt by how many people they walk by with just one puff of smoke of the cigarette smoke. Thank you.
My name is Joel Erding, and I'm a representative of the Garfield County Tobacco-Free Coalition. And we invited the youth to participate in several events this week in a campaign that's sponsored by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. It's a national organization, and here in Enid, we set up the campaign primarily to do a couple of things, one of which was the cleanup that the young folks referred to, which was actually at Meadow Lake Park. And as a result of that, we had a brief discussion, and one of the things we'd like to do is, to represent the youth, is to challenge the city to consider two things related to those cigarette butts that were displayed. Number one, policies or regulations in the community that you would find to reduce the amount of cigarette and tobacco-related litter. Please consider those. And the other, consider options that we could implement in our community to reduce the exposure of youth to secondhand smoke. Thank you very much.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to invite three gentlemen here to join us at the podium. Greg Nearing, Roger Morris, and Michael Bastard. Did I say that right, Michael? Michael, you're not with Coke, then, are you? Well, then you can just wait a while. I'll call you back later. Council and Commissioners, I have a proclamation here, but I'm really pleased that Greg and Roger are here. You'll recall not that long ago when we were incredibly short of a precious commodity, and that was our drinking water. You also know that Coke Nitrogen is our single biggest partner in the consumption of water. They bought over $3.5 million worth of water from our community last year. They have been extraordinary neighbors in an effort that define not only their role as contributing citizens, but also the treasured partnership that we have for them. And I want to read a proclamation. Coke Nitrogen is a corporate partner to the City of Enid and its citizens, providing overwhelming support to a community in crisis. On February 25th, 2013, a major winter storm named Rocky hit Enid and northwestern Oklahoma communities. Tens of thousands in Enid community and the local area lost power on February 25th as a strong winter storm with whipping winds and heavy snow barreled through the area. Coke Nitrogen responded to a need that the community and area could not face alone when approximately 95% of the power was out, and Coke Nitrogen conducted a 4-state search to locate power generators, not only bringing those generators to the Enid area, but helping install those to power sources that delivered water from our wells. The City of Enid recognizes the lasting relationship with Coke Nitrogen and thanks them for their corporate partnership and commitment to our community. Now, therefore, I, Bill Shuey, Mayor of the City of Enid, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim March 19th, 2013 as Coke Nitrogen Day.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
Please.
thank you, Mayor, Mr. Benson, council members.
There is no 3-minute limit either.
Coke Nitrogen is honored to receive this award and to partner with the City of Enid and the ODEQ to find sustainable water solutions for the community. We also want to recognize Randy Downing, Nelson Allen, and Casey Electric for the part that they played in helping to assist the restoring of power to the water supply wells that were lost during the recent power outage. Our plant here in Enid is one of the largest fertilizer production plants in North America. We have more than 140 hardworking employees, and we pay annual compensation and benefits to those employees of about $13 million annually. As the story in today's Enid News and Eagle shows, these dollars help support retail, restaurants, school services, and programs that are vital to the community. We work hard to be good corporate citizens and to create value here in Enid. Coke Nitrogen is proud to call Enid our home, and we look forward to continuing to grow and prosper here. Thank you again for this special honor.
We thank you. You are an excellent corporate citizen, and you, along with Vance Air Force Base, OG&E, and Alfalfa County Electric and the City of Enid, you got us back to drinking water in a hurry. And we also got a little more water back out to the Coke plant, too. Thank you, sir. Appreciate what you did very, very much. Thank you.
Sonny Key, would you come forth and help me? Mayor, Commissioners, online, I have a few items that I want to present. I'm going to call a few names, not all of whom are here, but Sonia, as they come forward, would you pass those out for me? I have something for some special people here. As I call your name, come on up here by us. Rob Camp, Bill Hawkins, Todd Felber, Danny Goff, Tom Kelly, James Thomas, Stephen Cross, Bruce Boyd, Jerry Crawford, Jeff Hatfield, Brian Bruce, Darrell Thorpe, Earl Hidden, Everett Glenn, Bill Hull, Jimmy Hartzell, Nestor Ramirez, Kenny Hedges, Frank Sweet, Mark Penton, Danny Smith, Jimmy Rivera, Tom Buckley, and Roy Robbins. Mayor and Commissioners, this is a special group of folks. I know you've seen some of them before. These are all City of Enid employees. These gentlemen and the folks whose name I called earlier are the reason that we never ran out of water. They are the reason why we restored 68 water wells in under 12 hours and restored power to the remaining about 75 additionally within the first 48. It took round-the-clock effort. It took effort beyond the norm, and each and every one of these gentlemen, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. Please help me express our appreciation. Bruce, this be your chance to be on TV, buddy.
We thank you. What a difference 2 weeks makes. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Good to see you.
Seems longer. Yes, it does.
That's all we have there in proclamation, Mr. Mayor.
We're losing our crowd here.
Thank you.
Cheers.
5.2.
Under item 5.2, presentation on Enid Public Schools Memorandum of Understanding by Keller Taylor, Global Spectrum General Manager, Enid Event Center and Convention Hall. There you are. Keller.
Mayor, Commissioners, appreciate you giving me a few more minutes of your time. I want to provide the community really an informational update on where we stand with one of our new bookings in the Event Center. We've got a presentation to go along with it, and this is really going to highlight the agreement between the Event Centers and Enid Public Schools. So just a little bit of background information. We started the process with identifying the basketball-related FF&E items, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment that would be necessary to play basketball in the new Event Center. That included several items included here on the screen. Connor basketball floor. This is something that our corporate was able to secure. Actually, 5 of the 2012 NCAA tournament floors and purchase at a discount. We've identified a couple interior video boards that you all have decided on, LED scores table, some portable basketball goals, team benches, the balls that will be necessary to play the games in the facility, as well as some basic water cooler parts to accompany that. Some items that you may not have seen yet, image-wise, I wanted to show you kind of the quality of equipment that we're going to be able to provide the public schools when they're playing in the facility. This is the Spalding unit that we'll be purchasing. We'll have 3 units, 2 primary units and a backup unit, pretty customary. The shot clocks are part of another package, and that's already been decided on and ordered. This is a rendering of the Connor sports floor. Kevin Friesen, a local designer here, has been a real partner to our efforts, and he helped us, along with the insight of Enid Public Schools, to develop this combination of our graphics and presence, as well as the Enid High, Plainsman, and Pacer graphics that have a nice representation. We've matched the PMS colors to the Enid High blue, so it should be a nice representation for their activities and other activities that we'll host on this floor. So looking at the agreement deal points, we took that $320,000 estimated FF&E fund and split it over a 10-year period, of which that we'll allocate that to. So it'll be an annual payment of $32,000. Enid Public Schools is going to pay that quarterly. In return for those funds, Enid Public Schools will have 11 dates in the building. Projected use of those dates right now, as it stands today, and we've had scheduling meetings even this week to project out where those dates are going to fall in the calendar year. Project out 7 basketball dates, 2 wrestling dates, which actually would be a nice thing for the entire community. The Mid-America Nationals tournament is something that we're working with the event organizers to bring to Enid, and we'll bring over 1,000 wrestlers to Enid in mid-December annually. Additionally, we'll have a hold date for weather on the graduation date. Then we're going to work with them on a volleyball match as well. We can't accommodate additional dates, and we propose to do that at an actual cost plus 10% basis. That way we'll cover all of our administrative fees and be whole from that perspective. The term will be for 10 years, of which we'll execute an annual license agreement, and that follows our procedure as well as their procedure. So we're very excited about this partnership, seeing it being very prosperous from the Enid Public Schools, enhancing their guest experience as well as from our end, putting some programming in the building is really the goal. So I appreciate the time and can address any questions if you guys have any.
Any questions?
Mayor and Commissioners, as you know, our good friend Sean Heim couldn't be here tonight. He's recovering from some pretty delicate surgery on his noggin. I got a text from him today saying he's doing better, he's feeling good, and just couldn't be here tonight. But let me offer that I'm exceedingly pleased and proud of Sean Heim's efforts at building and forging a lasting relationship between the Enid Public School System, the school board, and the city of Enid and its commissioners. He's a trusted and a valued friend and great ally, and it was with his dedicated effort that we muddled through a very, very challenging effort, but we produced an MOU that we can all be proud of. Hope you get better, Sean.
Thank you. Item 5.3, presentation. Whoa. I'm sorry. We don't have to vote, do we?
No,
You didn't catch that, Drew.
I did catch it. That's why I didn't say anything.
Presentation on downtown hotel development agreement by David Owen and David Mashburn with Lodgewell Limited Liability Company. Dave?
Thank you.
And Dave.
Mayor, members of the council, and city government, thank you very much. We're pleased to be back here again, and we have worked diligently over the past few weeks and days to put the final piece of our agreement together, which was Schedule B, the purchase agreement that we have been discussing, and we presented that to the city, and we're here to discuss that and answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Thank you, gentlemen. Sweet. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Item 5.4, consider appointments to the Aviation Advisory Board, Construction Board of Appeals, Tree Board, Advanced Development Authority, and ADA Access Board. Joan?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, we're going to start with the Aviation Advisory Board. I will read the list of candidates that have applied for this board, and if you so choose that you'd like to speak to the commission, just come up after the names have been read and give us your name, and you'll be allowed to do so. For the Aviation Advisory Board, we have 4 vacancies to be filled by any interested citizen of the City of Enid. We have several candidates. They are Dr. Roy Camp, Lieutenant Colonel David T. Chale, Caleb Easterwood, John Jameson, James Neal III, Gene Spillman, and John Ward. If any of these candidates are here tonight and would like to come and approach the commission with a few words, you may do so at this time.
I'm Gene Spillman, resident of Enid and a private pilot. Have been around the City of Enid for several years and know the value of Woodring Airport, and I'm glad to be a part of a team that would speak in favor of the quality of life that it brings and the support that it brings for the community. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Commissioners, and glad to be considered for this position.
My name is John Ward. Thank you for your time, City Commissioner and Commissioner members. I'm not a pilot, but I am a Enid native. Moved back here recently within the last 4 years. Am managing a local farm. Have been working actually out at Woodring for the last 2 months. Have met a lot of the people out there. Have done a lot of construction work out there. I do realize that is one of the main draws here in Enid. I think it's important for Enid for that to continue out there, and I thank you for being considered. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Neal. I don't normally speak at these, but I applied for these positions primarily just to let you all know that I'm available to serve if and as I'm needed. I'm a former naval officer. I've got a graduate degree in public policy. If you feel any of the qualifications I've listed would serve the citizens in the City of Enid, I'm available. I chose these 2 positions specifically because they do not pose a conflict of interest with my current employment. I do not report on or attend these boards. They're reported on by Jeff Mullen, so hence those 2 selections. So you have the luxury of some very well-qualified candidates. If you don't need my services at this point, consider me available for future tasking. Thank you.
I'm Roy Camp. I was appointed several months ago to fulfill an unexpired term on the airport board, and I'm applying now for a full position. I've served on the airport board several times in the past, and Mr. Onosorge, the current airport director, is the 5th airport director I will have served with as a member of the airport board. I had the experience of serving during the major runway 1735 concrete rebuild. The airport is starting another important project, and that is the southern extension of runway 1735. I think that's a major project for the airport, for the community, and for all of Northwest Oklahoma. I would like to be a member of the airport board and serve during that project. I appreciate your consideration of me as a member of the airport board. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Benson, and the City Council, good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to stand before you to apply for one of the positions for the airport board. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dave Shale. I previously served on the board from 2008 to 2011, and it's been an honor to look back on the great accomplishments of the airport since that time. My greatest accomplishment, or the way I can help the board, is I'm a current and qualified T6 instructor pilot at Advanced Air Force Base, and we need to continue to nurture that relationship that Advanced Air Force Base has with the community. You have no idea of the training impact that our airport makes on our mission at Advanced Air Force Base, and that is a relationship that we need to continue to nurture. In my previous life, I was the community planner at Advanced Air Force Base and know and understand the value of long-term planning for the airport as well as Advanced Air Force Base. And we'll look forward to serving again. Thank you very much.
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Caleb Easterwood. I'm currently the Chief Pilot for Atwood Distributing. I've served on the Enid, the Woodring Aviation Advisory Board previously. I've also, while my time at Oklahoma State University, got my degree in aviation sciences. I served on OSU's Aviation Advisory Board there as well. I think my assets to the board would be helping the corporate aviation departments out there tie in with the airport, and I'd also like to serve during the time as Woodring Airport is expanding with the 1735 project, and I think that I could be an asset to the team. And thank you for your time.
Caleb, do you have a driver's license? You look old enough to be a pilot to me, pal.
All right, Mayor and Commissioners, there are 4 vacancies. So the top 4 candidates will be available for you to vote on for appointment. And we don't have a computer.
We'll see.
Are breaking these, says she survey.
Okay, our thing said that our survey codes weren't saved, Dana, so it's saying we had invalid codes.
Sonny, do you have those pieces of paper?
Come on, mine is working.
Seriously.
Type in aviation.
Where's my SWOR at? Lost SWOR, there it is.
Type in aviation.
It's already been downloaded and won't do it again.
It says, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Wait, just a second. My response was not saved.
Oh, there you go. That's what you get.
I have the same response.
Sonny, we need those pieces of paper.
I'm so glad that happened to you.
Technical difficulties. Only because you were smug about it.
Yeah, just because he was giving me a hard time about it.
Make small pieces, give them again.
All right, bring it back.
Get the names of the people again.
I got one last time. Pass. Oh, a bunch this time.
Let's do this one more time.
Yeah. It's like carrot and
Get them there in a minute.
I need to see the names again.
Looks good.
The names of the people down are.
Do you remember all the names?
You can hand it back to I'll read them out again.
Okay, yeah.
Make a picture and post it up there. Our shooter.
Mayor and Commissioners, I will read the names one more time because
Thank
there's several on here. Dr. Roy Kent, Lieutenant Colonel David T. Chale, Caleb Easterwood, John Jameson, James Neal, Gene Spillman, and John Ward. If you'd like to look at the list, I'd be glad to.
Let's see. Technology rocks.
I'm gonna be a little.
Yeah, because they're pretty down. Easy.
So what's the new validation code?
We're going to do something.
Are you gonna do paper all evening?
Yes, sir.
We're doing paper all evening? Okay.
Well, you tell her that, we'll go on. Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
There's one vacancy to be filled by a licensed plumber, contractor, or a licensed plumbing journeyman. Mr. Mark Arnold is the only applicant for this position.
Make a motion that we fill him.
Second. Motion by Drew, second by Mike. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Under the, I'm sorry.
Tree Board, there are 4 vacancies to be filled by any interested citizen of the City of Enid, one of which will fill an unexpired term to March 1st, 2014. Applications have been received from Ms. Shayla Miller, Ms. Nancy Moore, Mr. John Ward, and Ms. Judy Watson. There are 4 vacancies. There's 4 applicants. Shayla, would you like to say something?
Most of you know who I am, but my name is Shayla Miller, and I've lived here in Enid for over 20 years. I used to own and manage Smith's Greenhouse, so I do know a little bit about trees. I'm not an expert, but I do know something. I really like the direction that the tree board has been going in the last few years, and I totally approve of what they've been doing and would really like to be on the tree board and would like you all to consider me for it.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve the 4 that have filed.
Second. A motion by Drew, second by Ron. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Advanced Development Authority, there are 3 vacancies to be filled as follows. There needs to be 1 vacancy to be filled by a person who has retired from the U.S. Air Force. For that application, we have Terry J. Cox, Robert Crowcroft, Robert Farrell, and Roy Newton. If any of these applicants are here and would like to speak, you're welcome to do so.
For those of you that don't know me, and I do think I know most of you up there, I'm Bob Farrell. I came here 24 years ago on assignment at Vance Air Force Base as the Senior Enlisted Advisor, now known as the Command Chief, retired in 1992. Served for the City of Enid as the first Director of Public Relations and Information in the 1995 background, and then went back to work at the base as the Chief of Community Relations and retired about 2 years ago, so I'm fully retired. I've been on the Advanced Development Authority for the last 3 years. We've gotten a lot done, but there's a lot of things that are coming down the pike, particularly with the defense budget cuts, and I know that we're going to be very, very active. So I'm ready to serve if so chosen. Thank you.
My name is Robert Crowcroft. I came here in March of 1964 and proceeded to go 14,000 hours of instruction in T-37 instrument simulator. I made several tours here, and then I retired from the Air Force in 1984, and I retired from civil service in 2008, and I've just about made advance my life, and I'd like to continue serving.
We're to vote for 1.
We need 1.
Could you read those names?
Terry Cox, Robert Crowcroft, Bob Farrell, and Roy Newton. 1 vote.
Do we have 1 vote?
It's just loud.
Heavy. People jump.
And read this next set. We may have to hold up a bit to get this answer to this one before we can vote on the next one, because some of them carry over. This is for 1 vacancy to be filled by a director or officer of a hospital located within the corporate limits of the City of Enid. This vacancy is due to the relocation of Mr. Jeffrey Tarrant and will fill an unexpired term to March 1st, 2014. Mr. Stan Tatum is the only applicant for this position. A copy of Mr. Tatum's application you have seen. This one is the only applicant for this position.
I'll make a motion. Go for it, Mike.
I will make a motion to approve and accept Stan Tatum.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Drew. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
This next position is the at-large position that I was referring to. One vacancy to be filled by any interested person from the public at large. The candidates are Terry Cox, Robert Crocroft, Bob Farrell, Bruce Jackson, Edward Justice, Mark Kiefer, James Neal, Roy Newton, W.L. Stevenson Jr., and Teresa Vance. If there's anyone that would like to speak to this group, you're welcome to do so this time.
Should we not go back to the first one under the VDA?
Good evening, lady.
Got that
You
answer?
just got those votes.
I'm sorry.
If we have that answer, we can go ahead and announce that.
The answer for
The person that
retired from the U.S. Air Force is Bob Farrell. So we need to scratch him from the...
Scratch him from this list.
Now, would you read those again, please?
For the at-large.
Do we have the answer on the
Yes.
item we already got? Okay, it's Terry Cox, Robert Crocroft, Bruce Jackson, Edward Justice, Mark Kiefer, James Neal, Roy Newton, W.L. Stevenson Jr., and Teresa Vance.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, my name's Mark Kiefer. When I first started serving on various boards, I set this as a goal that I wanted to get to at some point. I wanted to serve Vance in our community. And the reasons are exactly what Lieutenant Colonel Chale said, that there needs to be more of a synergy between the aviation board, which I'm on, and Vance Air Force Base. Also, I have tremendous pride in the Air Force Base. My grandma worked there for several years. I believe it was over 30 years. So I would appreciate your vote. If not, you have a great list of candidates, certainly some that are very patriotic, that every time I drive by their dealership, I have to stare at the flag. So good luck. You guys have no bad choices. So.
Thank you for letting me come tonight, City Commission and Administration. I've been in Enid about 20 years and worked with most all of you in some aspect. Recently serving on the TIF committee with Mr. Stuber, in which I think we made the right decisions because my heart is with the farmers. And Oklahoma has the dirtiest wheat in the nation. A lot of people don't know that because they can't spray for weeds without killing the wheat. If they raise canola, they can. So our canola decision was a good one. I was born in 1950, and we lived in a base housing at Tinker Air Force Base, where Dad enlisted to be an instrument technician. In 1954, he was transferred to Vance Air Force Base, and we lived on Randolph, right over here near Van Buren. One of his jobs was to taxi a T-33 down the runway, sit on the tail on the outside, and make needed adjustments to true north on the compass of the aircraft. From Enid, we were transferred to Waco. I learned to swim in the base pool. Later, that was abandoned and then became the Branch Davidian compound. I had nothing to do with that. From there, we were transferred to Aviano, Italy, to the base there, and that's where I started first grade at the school on the base. Back in those days, the Air Force families didn't get the community respect in the U.S. as they do now, and especially in Italy, where communists were still rampant. We lived off base, but the Air Force had to build a barbed wire compound around our house. We had protesters at our gates who hated Americans on occasion. We lived there 4 years, and we were transferred to McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita, Kansas. Before the United States even acknowledged we were in Laos next to Vietnam, Dad became a Special Forces agent in the Air Force and parachuted into Laos with no markings or identification in case he was ever captured. To this day, I do not know what the missions were. Dad served 28 years in the Air Force. I have never served, but has always had a tug in my heart to support the armed forces. And any opportunity that came forward, and the best opportunities came forward when I chose to move to Enid. I joined the Enid Air Force Association in 1993 when I opened up our car dealership in Enid, and I've been a member since. I've sponsored 4 or 5 classes and am a currently sponsor of the class of 1313. This year we had a swim party, and then later on this year when I got colder, we had a murder mystery party. It was strange that I was one of the first ones murdered. But these gentlemen, and I had provided all types of beverages, beer and some wine, but I ended up taking most of that away because these gentlemen are serious about their career, and women in my class. And we drink mostly soda water, hard water. And so I ended up having to give the beer and the alcohol away. They're the most well-mannered, polite, respectful people I've ever had in my home. In 2004, I became president of the Enid Air Force Association, and a group of us flew to Washington, D.C. to promote Enid in the face of the looming 2005 BRAC rounds. The Enid Air Force Association was named the best Air Force base supporter in the nation. National President John Politi gave Enid 5 of 11 national awards presented that night, the most any local AFA association had ever been given. And Senator Jim Inhofe said Vance ranks first in community support. Mary Feitner was presented the Sturtz Award as recognition as the AFA member of any community that had done the most for AFA membership in the nation. And I might mention that the Indian News and Eagle was named as the best base supporter in the nation for community information. Later, George Pankinen and Mike Cooper, both past presidents, and I met and spoke personally with the Secretary of the Air Force, Dr. Roche. We also met with General Fig Newton and continued our lobbying. He was easy because he used to be a wing commander here at Vance. It seemed that every colonel and general in the Air Force we met knew of the fabulous reputation of Enid, and as an Air Force supporter, most seemed to have been trained in Enid. Enid trains a lot of leaders in the Air Force. I later tagged around Washington with Mike Cooper, and I can tell you no matter what office we walked in to lobby, everybody in there stood in respect and said, "Oh, Mr. Cooper, so nice to see you." And I guess they thought I was the baggage boy because they didn't know me. He was the smoothest operator in promoting Enid in our quest to keep the base open, and I truly believe he conducts himself professionally and privately as much time as I spent with him as a first-rate Oklahoma Air Force promoter. He is the best of the best at what he does. When we had our horrible ice storm a few years ago, I hosted Lieutenant Colonel's family in my home because at least I had some heat. He later arranged for a courtesy flight for me in a T-37. I can tell you, the tail number on it was 57, and I believe it was the oldest aircraft at the Vance Air Force Base. I can tell you because all the instruments had dirt in them, and the floor was worn to a thin piece of metal. During the orientation, I was taught how to eject during an emergency and how to push the oxygen button if I got sick. Well, I thought, being a man that I am, I won't have to push that. And the young lieutenant was Tim Miller. And he says, "Mr. Jackson, do you get sick on joy rides?" I said, "Sir, hardly anything ever makes me sick." And he looked at me for a little bit and grinned. I should have known then. During orientation, I was taught how to eject during an emergency and how to push the oxygen button. If I get sick, I push the little white oxygen button. I vowed never to touch them. And the young lieutenant gave me the ride of my life. And as sick as I got, pulling 5.5 Gs in a loop, I would not touch that oxygen button. When I settled down, he allowed me to fly the T-37 over Enid, and it was the most thrilling ride of my life. I flew loops and rollovers until the tower finally radioed and said, "You guys need to get back." I wouldn't want to insult any pilot in here to tell you that I actually flew it, because landing and takeoff are much more crucial than just playing with the joystick. Enid Council and Commission, I have Air Force in my blood, and I still have a deep desire to continue the greatest tradition any community in the United States has ever produced. It wasn't anything that I particularly did. I just owned a community that was already involved with it. And I want to do it by returning to the Advanced Development Authority. I want to continue to serve and support Enid and the relationship with the United States Air Force advance. Our city benefits, our state benefits, and the United States benefits.
Bruce, there's just one thing that you failed to mention. You're the only person I know that's eaten a possum. I'm sorry. You exceeded
I left his absence, and I accidentally got on the wrong bus and got into the Pentagon accidentally, and I could not get out legally. When I figured out a way to get out, I got out the wrong door, and I figured out how to figure back in legally.
Hey, Bruce, when did you study with Abe Lincoln? What
Stick around Mike Cooper's all I'm saying.
Does anybody need the list read again?
Well, so, yeah.
Please cast your vote unless you want the list reread.
I want Mr. Jackson's speech reread.
You read those things again.
One vacancy, we have Terry Cox, Robert Procroft, Bruce Jackson, Edward Justice, Mark Kiefer, James Neal, Roy Newton, W.L. Stevenson, and Teresa Vance.
Vote for one. While she's telling the vote, under the Aviation Advisory Board, we have 3 that have been elected and one will have a runoff. The 3 that have been elected are Dr. Roy Camp, Lieutenant David Chale, is that right? And James Neal III. We will have a runoff between John Jameson and Gene Spillman. At this time, vote for 1, 2, John Jameson or Gene Spillman for the Aviation Advisory Board.
John Jameson.
Kind of Vanna White tonight. So.
Commissioners, the final board that requires a vote is the ADA Access Board. There is one vacancy filled by any institution in the city of Enid.
That's not Bruce Jackson, is it?
That's what's scaring us, Bruce.
Have we ever had a filibuster?
Joan, let's take care of this one, and then we'll be down to the ADA Access Board. Under the Advanced Development Authority will be Bruce Jackson. Bruce, our meetings only last for 60 minutes. You'll be last. Just, congratulations. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We'll take care of this one.
I know, did you just the effort?
The
Should have said.
other office will be John Jameson. Or the other board member, I'm sorry. Fire away.
ADA Access Board, 1 vacancy to be filled by any interested citizens. The applicants are Jessica Edwards, Darla Powell, and Craig Rifle. Or Riffle, I'm not sure. Any of the 3 candidates like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Edwards. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my application to be part of the ADA Advisory Board. I have the desire and the time to serve the public on the ADA Access Board. Please consider my volunteer service, coupled with my architectural education and professional experience with codes, construction, and design when considering my application. Regardless of how the ADA Advisory Board began, I'm very proud of their accomplishments in a relatively short amount of time. Chris Stein, I think, does a wonderful job helping a very diverse group of citizens focus on important accessibility issues in our community. This is a dynamic time for the city of Enid with the influx of new business, people, and development. I understand the history of our city, and I also share a vision for a productive and successful future. It would be an honor for me to be on this board. Thank you.
One vacancy, 3 candidates. Jessica Edwards, Marla Powell, and Craig.
We need a paper.
Under item 6, hearings, there are none. Under item 7, community development, 7.1, there are none. As soon as we get the results, we'll go to item 8.
Would you like your spare paper back?
We'll need it next time.
Yeah.
The new board member is Jessica Edwards. Under item 8.1, under administration, consider a real estate contract with Enid Hotel 1 LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Lodgewell LLC, Overland Park, Kansas. Andrea.
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. This real estate agreement was presented to you. You've seen a couple of different versions of it. Different edits have been made. But this was negotiated as a result of the master development agreement that this commission already approved with Lodgewell LLC. So if and when this agreement is approved, it'll be attached to and be made a part of that master development agreement. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Also, Dave and Dave are here to answer technical questions.
This agreement, I assume, calls for the construction of a parking garage and a retail development. Is that correct?
It does, and there will be additional details brought to this commission later for specifics on more of that.
but yes, it does.
Well, I have no difficulty with, building the hotel there or building, going through Lodgewell for that purpose, but I'm not in favor of building the parking garage. And for that reason, I'm going to vote against this item.
Commissioner, I've asked Ricky Hayes to be here. I think one of your cogent questions was about the value of the retail development that was part of the parking garage. So perhaps, or perhaps not, his input might make a difference.
Well, as long as he's here, we should listen to him.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen. I have a confession to make. First, I too have had possum before. I'm sorry.
Well, that makes two of them.
Tastes like chicken.
I guess it's all in how you prepare the pasta.
Beer. I'm sorry. I had to, that's a true story. I just wanted to know what kind of consultants you have working for you.
We'll consider that next time your contract.
Thank you. I'd have to explain the details. It was on a dare. I'm sure you would recognize that. Tonight, I believe, is one of the most historic nights in the city of Enid as your city considers a partnership with a firm that really came to us as a result of another deal going belly up. And you can say all things work together for good, or you can say it was blind luck, or you can call it whatever you want to. But I believe we're very fortunate to be in the situation we're in tonight because we were at the negotiation table, city manager, the mayor, city attorney, a couple more representatives of the city in Tulsa with a group, and we were, for all practical purposes, in my mind, to the point of making a deal. And then the group began to retrade at the last moment. I became uncomfortable with the deal, expressed to Mr. Benson and Ms. Springer that I think we ought to pull back, take another look. And we did, and then ended up in a relationship or in meeting these two gentlemen that you've met with today. The downtown area is a unique area in terms of recruiting retail to your city, because it is a situation that we see in every market where there is substantial national retail, and those retailers tend to want to stay in a synergistic pattern with other national retailers. And that's exactly what's happening in your city as multiple groups of developers handle multiple tenants trying to get in on the growth and the growing retail market that your city offers. The downtown area, if you ask me, could we recruit quality retail downtown? I would say only in a situation like is before you tonight, where you had a quality development group bringing a quality hotel, not a Motel 6 or a Comfort Inn, and I'm not bashing those two chains. I'm talking about a nice, full-service hotel product that will complement your event center and the quality of life Enid has to offer. With that in mind, the downtown area becomes a natural seedbed for some specialty retail. It'll be retail that enjoys the ingress and egress of tourist dollars. It'll be retail that wants to feed the conference center energy, feed on it and draw from it. But it'll be retail that I believe will make Enid proud because of the quality of the hotel development that is before you tonight. In terms of value, 18,000 square feet, what I believe will happen is we will have a restaurant, a nice restaurant, sit-down restaurant, maybe a small quick service restaurant, both national brands, and then I believe some boutique type retail, and by that I mean something to the nature of I'm trying to think of a brand that would be recognizable. I think it'll be small shop tenants in a kind of a boutique fashion. In other words, we might have a national jewelry store or a card or gift shop type thing, which there are about 3 or 4 different brands that trade nationally that will come to feed on the hotel synergy and the conference center synergy. I think market rates are going to prevail, maybe even $1 or $2 higher because of the quality of the hotel. And so, with that being said, we're excited about the potential. Again, it'd be a tough job if you didn't have the hotel going with it. But with the hotel, I think it becomes an environment for private sector retail investment there.
I'd like to highlight a couple elements in the proposal you have for tonight, Commissioners, and I want to identify some distinctions that have been an issue of concern. And as we have discussed in our run-up to this vote, the City of Enid is not requested to forward a cash position. In fact, in other words, we don't have to provide any upfront financing for either this hotel or the garage. The garage element is proposed to be financed through the entire package, which will enable us to engage new market tax credits, which are a very key consideration. This financing vehicle allows us to lease that property to use as we deem appropriate to support the hotel for parking, but as well as retail parking for the downtown square, the convention center, and the event center. As proposed, it would be a 3-level or 3 or 4-level, 4-level garage. It would be 250 spots, 131 designated for and used by the hotel. There are 2 other elements that I want to ensure that we identify here. We have proposed, and Ricky helped us design this as a means to entice retail development to our facility, the deferment of additional sales tax once those shops are up and operating. This does 2 functions. It enables a startup facility to relocate to its business to Enid. It also is an enticement for them to be drawn in a market that might be otherwise tight. The second element of that is the sharing of the profits in these retail shops that are there. Now, both of these elements provide us the opportunity to provide maintenance cost, but they also do not go to the Lodgewell Group. These are elements that are generated to use as incentives for retail generation in that spot. Now, before, as you all would know, but a lot of people in the community may not, incentives are key to drawing new business into any retail market. We've utilized them in a variety of means already in our community, and they're the new norm in retail generation. They are not inconsequential to the retailer themselves, but in the big picture of our general budget, that give us the opportunity to give up funds that we're not currently generating, thus we do not miss them, and it's only on new retail sales and that sales tax. It does, however, protect the obligated sales taxes that we have currently, the 1-cent sales tax for capital projects and the 1/4-cent sales tax for school bond repayment.
Mr. Benson, I may add one thing there to your comments. They're spot on as usual, but the one of the things the incentive packages do, the sales tax rebates, add in the decision-making process to a corporate real estate committee for a retailer who may fight with all they've got to go out in the synergistic west side of the city where all the retail growth is occurring, or predominantly all of it. We're going to have something to provide a, for lack of a better word, an incentive to come to this downtown area separate from the synergistic effect of all the other retail that's pulling consumers from northwest Oklahoma to Enid right now. And those incentives allow, in doing those leases, maybe a lower lease rate for the first 3 years, or first 5 years, and those things are crucial. As this board knows, in a few months ago, before Best Buy fell on hard economic times, they were pushing for a deal in Enid. They were asking for a number of years rent-free to even consider the market. I don't know if the board remembers that, but there was a great push at that time to get them here. I wish we could have got them. It's a rough time for electronic retailers in the world of retail, but those incentives are the key element that sets, and I shared this with you and shared this with this group many times. Enid is not just competing against Woodward or Guthrie or Perry. You're competing against Oklahoma City and Tulsa. You're competing against Frisco and Southlake. You're competing against Denver and Wichita. It's what allows you to compete on those playing fields. And this board's been very open to the use of incentives, and the harvest is yet to come. And I commend you on your vision and commend this group on their vision for your downtown area.
Well, I just want to address, my reasoning is that we have a great deal of empty retail space now that we're not filling, and we got very adequate parking downtown. So, I can understand we need to provide the parking space for the hotel guests, but I don't see any reason to build any more parking or to provide any additional retail space when we can't fill the retail space we got.
I'll stand up and make a statement. I am one of the last standing commissioner that began this downtown renaissance so many years ago. And there were several things that we knew to be paramount for the success of the downtown renaissance program. One of those things was a downtown hotel, as you cannot have a conference center without a place for the guests to stay. With that, we've garnered, as Ricky put it, you call it dumb luck, you call it God's intervention, however you want to put it, but Dave and Dave showed up and said, this is what we want to do and we like what you're offering. They're not asking a whole lot of the city, and if my memory serves me correctly, we have faced numerous lawsuits in regards to the amount of parking that we have downtown with the event center and the renovated conference center. And only adding more to that, I applaud the Dave Squared for putting in a four-story parking center. I further applaud the thought process of adding retail development down there, as I can truly see how this is going to grow into a word that's been used a lot, but a synergistic area that will only build upon itself. I remember when I was new on the commission 4 years ago, possibly a little bit before that, where I sat together with focus groups of how do we renovate downtown? How do we try to facilitate more growth? How do we bring the possibility of living quarters downtown through some of the older buildings and renovations of those older buildings? We are on that path right now. We are taking those steps forward right now. This contract that is in front of you is the next necessary step to make this downtown vision a reality. And it is with that I would make a motion that we approve the contract with Enid Hotel One LLC.
We have some comments also.
I was going to make that, can we make that to award and execute the contract with contingency that if there are no, and approve it as written, but if there are no new market tax credits and or TIF district money, that we would go to a contingency plan that would call for a smaller version of that parking garage, keeping the retail in place.
In other words, you'd have a perhaps a 2-deck versus a 4-deck.
Correct. Only if the new market tax credits and/or the TIF, if there's a TIF district, that money that does not happen.
I'll accept that amendment.
That would be good.
So in both scenarios, you'd retain the retail presence.
Correct.
I'm curious about what retail space we're not able to fill, because I know Drew is downtown and I work downtown, and downtown is
Fireplace store.
pretty full. Downtown's pretty happening. I mean, it's a pretty sought after spot to be. So I would disagree that we don't.
I will say that a lot of those national chain retailers are not going to move into a 100-year-old building where there's constant maintenance and they have to spend $300,000 just to get it habitable.
I think the incentives is a real carrot for the retailers also. Carrot is the right word.
Mr. Mayor, this is an extremely complex document, and particular paragraph 8, to which we're referring with the contingencies that are available, is in itself very complex. My issues with this have been and continue to be the relative lack of what I want to call hard data, performance versus cost revenue data in regards specifically to the garage as a structure and what that represents in terms of potential liability cost and potential revenue down the road for us. Combining it with the retail space certainly makes sense. One of the things that we have discussed and that is still ongoing is there is some additional information that we are going to receive, and I think that Commissioner Stuber's modification to your motion would be appropriate in that it leaves us a little bit of flexibility still to examine that parking garage one more time in terms of how we want to do it once we have those numbers. I'm a numbers guy. You guys are learning that. I think we need to see some of that before we make our final decision, so I would support your amendment to that motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Do we have a second?
No.
Okay, I will second.
I have a comment. Would you repeat that motion again?
My motion was that we award and execute the contract to Enid Hotel 1 LLC with Commissioner Stuber's amendment that allows for contingencies if new market tax contingencies on the hotel or on the parking garage, if new market tax credits are not available, and if TIF and/or TIF money is not available.
Then we could go to that. We would have the opportunity at that point to go to a smaller scale garage.
Correct.
Is that what you understand also?
Yes, sir. And I would second that motion.
Mike's already seconded.
I second.
Comment?
Just, I wanted to say that we support that approach. If the new market tax credits are not available, we feel that we could scale that back to a 2-level garage that would provide the spaces for the hotel, and we still keep the retail.
Great.
Thank you. Any other comments? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-1. Item 8.2, consider a resolution amending the 2012-2013 general fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $531,000 to increase the 2012-2013 appropriated amounts for the general fund transfers department. Cheryl?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, there's actually 4 items on here tonight. This is the first of 4 that are budget amendments. As you know, from time to time, we bring budget amendments to the Commission related to items that you're up for your approval that weren't in the original budget. This is exactly like that. I've combined 2 items in it. One is for Champlain Park playground equipment and improvements, and the other is for an airport hangar. Those monies would come from the general fund and be transferred to the capital improvement fund, which is a subsequent item that you will see. If you're going to approve those items, we need to raise the budget because these items weren't in the original budget, and we need to be able to fund them properly. If you choose not to fund either both of them or one of them, then we'll probably need to amend it or just not approve it. City's recommendation is that you approve this item, raise the budget for those 2 items.
So just to clarify then, if we decide not to purchase the hangar tonight, it does not impact this revenue?
Then what I would recommend is you reduce the amount by $340,000. Yeah, the total item is an increase to the general fund budget of $531,000, of which $340 is for the airport hangar purchase.
So we can approve this and still take the $340 back out of it?
Yes.
I think what he's saying, Commissioner, is that we amend 8.2
If that's what you're looking to do, is what you
to 531 minus 340.
Table
Well,
the
we-
hangar discussion.
530, 660. No, that should be.
Well, the confusion for me, and I think it's been tried to be explained, and I'm still confused, is why we're approving the money for something that we haven't agreed to buy yet.
Well, and I can answer that. Typically, when we have an item on here, before you approve the item to approve it or fund it, we need to have the budget item in place. So that's the only reason why the budget item is typically before the item to approve.
If the purchase item fails, they both become moot, or if you don't approve this one, or if you modify it, the following elements are moot.
You have to have the appropriation in place before you could approve to purchase it.
Even before you can consider the purchase.
Any contract approved before funds are budgeted would be an invalid and unlawful contract.
Because we vote on the Champlin Park and the hangar items separately.
Yes, I think the Champlin Park item is item 8.4, and I think the airport hangar, I think, is 8.6.
Now, Andrea, if we vote for the $531,000 resolution and $340,000 of that resolution does not pass, it goes back. Is that correct?
The money's never transferred. If you approve this resolution with an amendment that reduces it, then that money, it never transfers.
But if we approve the the resolution as written, and then one of the subsequent items does not pass,
What happens to the money?
what happens to that money?
It can't be spent. It could only be spent on what it was budgeted for. So if it's budgeted, and this resolution budgets money. So if you budget for a hangar and you don't purchase the one in later in the agenda, it can't be spent on something else. So even if you're amending the budget and Ono can't go, oh great, you didn't pass that, but I've got some more stuff that I could do with it. He can't do that. So
Okay, so it's just like, we don't need to worry about the dollar amount per se in the resolution. It's more if the subsequent items pass, we have money available.
Yes.
It's
But if
budget authority to make subsequent decisions. If those
Okay.
decisions are not made, the budget authority
yeah,
Is-
the money just sits there.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Drew, second by Mike. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Don't get any funny ideas, Alan.
Consider a resolution amending the 2012-2013 Capital Improvement Fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $384,850 to increase the 2012-2013 appropriated amounts for the Capital Improvement Department. Gerald?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, this item is very similar. It increases the capital improvement budget for two items. One is the one we just talked about where the monies were increased in the general fund. I'll transfer that over to capital improvement. That $191,000 includes about $140,000 of donations that were raised for that park and contributed to it. And then the rest of that amount is the $193,850 for the Clemmy artwork that I believe is item 9.1.
Make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Drew, second by Tammy. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Under item 8.4, consider a contract with Cunningham & Associates for the Champlin Park Playground Equipment, Project P-1303A, and authorize the mayor to execute all contract documents after review by the city attorney. Robert?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. It's my pleasure to present this contract award for playground equipment for Champlin Park. Did go out for bids for that, received 3 bids. As shown in the item here, the low bid was by Cunningham Associates at $190,447.25. It would provide for a engineered mulch base with an under drain system for the area, and then a surrounding sidewalk. I'll just want to go to the actual drawing. It provides for improvements in Champlin Park as shown here, and this would be shown in the right side of the drawing. This is Van Buren Road to the north, Van Buren to the east, and Champlin Park. We provide for development of basically 3 playground facilities in that thing, which would be made up of climbing facilities, platforms, slides, and different events with a number in these 2 areas. Other facilities in the 3rd area provides engineering base, those equipment to be installed, and the under drain system. And the recommendation is to award to Cunningham Associates an amount of $190,447.25.
I would like to point out that 73.3% of the money being used for on this project, if it is approved, is raised by private donations. It is with that I will happily make the recommendation to award this to Cunningham and Associates.
Second that.
A motion by Drew, a
I
second.
wanted to ask one more question.
Question.
Now, they just planted a bunch of trees in there. They're not removing all the trees, are they?
No, they are not. They are not removing all the trees. There is this is the area of Champlin Park, and this is the area center that the development is occurring. And go back. And in that meat area, there are, as you can see, about 3 or 4 trees that will have to come out to provide for that installation. But the majority of the trees in the surrounding area are not disturbed.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
It's not part of the park.
And it's to be shared with the Park Department and Park Board and the Capital Improvement Fund.
That's correct.
Within the budget. Any other
That's what I'm saying, the public.
discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Hallie, good job.
I'm assuming you no longer wish to speak to the council, Hallie or Matt?
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. We owe you a debt of thanks, not the other way around.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I make an administrative comment here?
You're on.
I want to advise some folks in the audience, some of you have signed up for items on the agenda, but you haven't determined which one you want to speak to. And Ms. Massagale, I know that you wish to speak in public comment. You'll get that opportunity, and that comes at the end of the commission meeting. But
I couldn't find it in what was out there, so I just left it open.
I'll take care of you, don't worry. Now, there's a JR, and I hope I'm not saying this right, Qualls? Okay. Mr. Ools, you have here ordinances. What is it you wish to speak to?
The change in telecommunications.
Okay, good to know. And then Mr. Boustert? 8.8. All right, great. Mr. Mayor, that's it. Thank you.
Item 8.5. Consider a resolution amending the 2012-2013 airport fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $340,000 to increase the 2012-2013 appropriated amounts for the general fund transfers department. Gerald?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is another related item, specifically increasing the airport budget. Earlier, I think in 8.2, we talked about and you approved increasing the general fund budget to transfer some money, part of which was to fund the airport fund hangar purchase. So if you are going to approve 8.6, you should approve 8.5 first.
Yeah, I want to clarify. If they approve this item, then perhaps do not approve the purchase of the hangar. this money stays in the airport fund, or does it revert to the general fund?
The money would still be, it would be budgeted, the budget would be increased legally in the airport fund.
But we do not necessarily, but it doesn't have to remain there if the subsequent sale falls through.
Right.
It would go back.
8.6 is not approved, then
Then we could make another.
proceed with, right.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, this one I think mentions at the bottom, it talks about general fund transfers department, and that's an error. This is raising the airport fund budget by $340,000 if you approve that.
That's the last sentence in the paragraph.
Yes.
Change general to airport.
Yes.
Any other comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mike,
Second.
second by Drew. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-1. Item 8.6. Consider the purchase of hangar number 2 at Enid Woodring Regional Airport from Revocable Inter Vivos Trust of Harold G. Ham, dated April 23rd. Whew, can't be right.
Typo.
1884. Should that be 19?
It should be, yes, sir.
1984?
It's a ways back.
Didn't have airplanes then.
Lucy, you and I are the only ones that were alive in 1884.
I resemble that.
Oh, no?
Okay, this is the hangar that we showed you, a couple of weeks ago. I'll go over it real quickly again. There's the outside of the hangar. The hangar's 10,000 square feet inside, steel ceiling, insulated, heated, and the flooring is new. In other words, it's been epoxied so that it's in good shape. Office area, you saw these before. I went in there today. The furniture is gone, but the rest of the office space is in good shape. There's also storage underneath. About 3/4, 2/3, 3/4 of the office space is considered office space, and then probably another 750, 800 square feet is actual storage space. A few reasons, a few things to look at. As I said, 10,000 square feet, built in 83. It's heated. That's a big deal in this part of the country during the wintertime. The hangar door is pretty good size, and it's in good condition. The owner's asking $335,000, as we mentioned before, and he purchased it in 2009 for $168,000. He's put $165,000 worth of upgrades and remodeling to include a new roof, the flooring, remodeling of the offices, and air conditioning as well. The cost, when you take that $335,000 and you translate it, looking at the entire square feet of the hangar and office space, it's about $26 per square feet. I looked at hangars for sale throughout the United States. I looked about 200 of them quickly, and I tried to find hangars that were similar size, similar type, and a similar community, if you will. Did not pick out any in, say, California near Los Angeles. Those are quite a bit more expensive than these. But looking at Mineral Wells, Texas, and Silver Springs, I came up with about $29 or $33 a square feet. So in my mind, it's looks like a good deal. Just for a data point, our new joint use hangar was $40 a square feet.
To build new.
I'm sorry?
New construction?
Yes, that is new. No, the one in Mineral Wells and Sulphur Springs is not.
Use hangar,
Joint
new
use
hangar.
Yes. And there we go. This would be a capital improvement, a capital asset, if you will, that we could probably pay off 15 to 17 years if we fill it up, perhaps longer after that. If a corporation wants to move into Enid and they have an airplane, they'll probably be looking for a hangar like this. I have 4 hangars out there right now that have space a little bit smaller than this, but they have a lot of office space as well. That's what a corporation with an aircraft usually will look for.
As a transient hangar, having a heated transient hangar during the wintertime is a big deal as well. And there's other potential uses, an avionics shop, small experimental aircraft, flight training facility, and I can lease it piecemeal, if you will, 4 aircraft inside the hangar, and then office space as well. The way I see it, it's a good opportunity, and it right now is a reasonable price. Any questions?
Is the office space separated from the hangar itself?
It's a portion of it. Like the hangar is 120 by 100. The 20 feet on one side, office space, 2 stories.
Is it getting separated from the storage area?
Yes.
So you could actually have 2.
There are lots of different doors and sections in it.
You've got, talked about the attracting corporations, that may want, are you talking about selling it to a corporation or leasing it or both, either or? What's the thought process there?
I would be open to options. My first going-in position would be to lease it.
Lease it for the city?
I'm sorry?
Lease it as the city? Or lease
We would lease it as we would any other hangar out there.
Lease it to a corporation. And do you know what that, knowing what we've got in it, what that rate?
It's about $1,600 to $1,800 a month.
Is that for that?
Is it what now?
Is there a market for that? People are.
The hangars we have out there right now, they're going for a little bit less than that. A hangar like this at Wiley Post would go for quite a bit more than that. And when I was looking through these hangars to purchase, I was also looking at some to lease, and the lease rates are pretty high, quite a bit higher than this. But again, a lot of those are in towns like near Los Angeles and things like that.
I make a motion that we table this until we receive the information that Dr. Van Hooser talked about earlier.
You're asking for an appraisal to be done?
Yes, I just have some concern over the price. I think it's a great asset, and I respect the time and effort you put into getting to the financial analysis on this. But I would like to see a formal appraisal done, maybe to give us some negotiating power with this price. So I would like to see us table it. It's been on the market for a year and a half. I don't think one more commission meeting is going to necessarily cause us to lose this opportunity to purchase this asset. So I'd like to see a formal market appraisal, both from a market appraisal standpoint and an income appraisal standpoint, before we make our final decision. So if we could table this until, I would make that, or I would second your motion, Tammy.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by David. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.7, consider amending the sewer use ordinance 2000-24 to incorporate streamlining requirements.
Mayor and Commissioners, this item was heard at the last study session on March the 5th. This is an item that has been out there for the city to approve for some time. It is a requirement by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. I had presented you, each and every one of you, a large packet last meeting to read through, scan through, for your understanding and review of the process they're asking us to do. Are there any questions?
I'd just like to make the comment that I want to thank you personally for allowing me to get one of the best night's sleep I've had recently after reviewing that document.
Thank you. I'll have to try that again myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we accept or adopt the ordinance.
Second that.
A motion by Drew, a second by Mike. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote.
McLean, that was some pretty dry reading out there, buddy.
Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.8, consider an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 6, Article B, Section 2-6B-2, and creating Title II, Chapter 6, Article B, Section 2-6B-18 of the Enid Municipal Code 2003. Andrea?
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. The Commission reviewed this ordinance several weeks ago now. What this ordinance does is it increases the rate that telephone providers will pay to the City of Enid for the use of the City of Enid's right-of-way and for inspection fees and things like that. Since 1935, the only telephone company in town that actually pays the City of Enid has been paying 2%. And with the increase of the capability of that telephone company and other telephone companies coming into the city, there's a lot more work on the city. There's a whole lot more right-of-ways being used, and we want to increase this percentage to 5%. And that is comparable with Suddenlink as well, who uses those same right-of-ways to provide essentially the same services as the telephone companies do. So it kind of makes things fair with the different companies. So this provides the 5%, and then it outlines the licensing fees, which is the 5%. Are there any questions? Also, Pioneer, who is the driving force behind this, who wants to come in town desperately, is here. I think will probably ask you to pass this as quickly as possible so that they can pay you and get to work.
Emergency?
Do what?
Would that be with emergency then?
We have two others signed up too.
I was just asking.
No, it doesn't have an emergency clause.
It doesn't.
We have two individuals, Mr. Mayor. Michael Bastard.
Councilman, Mayor, just like to say on behalf of Pioneer Telephone, we're looking forward to working with the City of Enid. We've been working through negotiations over the past year. When Councilman Mr. Stuber was a employee of Pioneer Telephone, that threw some roadblocks up, and we were trying to negotiate our ways through that. That has been taken care of. We're looking at this as probably the last stepping block for us to be able to move forward. There are great opportunities in Enid. You have a very vibrant city, and we would like to be part of it. And the 5%, from what our standpoint is, 5% to all telecommunications providers, that's fair, that's straight. We're willing to abide by it, no problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rules?
Thanks for having us here. My only concern is does this replace the franchise agreements? Do they go away and this new ordinance takes over? Does that put us out of a franchise opportunity? Does it bring everybody else out of the franchise into the ordinance?
I'll answer this. We don't technically have a franchise agreement. The agreement that we have with AT&T says that they will pay the ordinance rate. So it brings everybody to the same rate. Everyone will, actually the agreement was with, I think, Bell South or something. It was really
changed.
I think that Southwestern Bell. So, but everyone will pay the same rate. Everybody will be under the same guidelines.
So when this takes effect, like if this was approved tonight, Pioneer comes in and we start immediately on 5%, how soon does everybody else start that? I'm just checking. I'm curious how this is all going to play out as far as, hey, what brought all this on?
That young lady there can answer you that outside of chambers.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have signed up, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Tammy. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.9, consider an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 2, Article A, Section 7-2A-1 of the Enid Municipal Code 2003 to add 2 members to the Park Board for a total of 8 members. Andrea?
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. This ordinance is brought to you at the request of Commissioner Jansen. It increases the Park Board members from 6 members to 8 members. Those 2 additional members will be appointed by the Mayor and Commissioners if this passes at another meeting. And the only other thing that I did with this ordinance is just capitalize things that should be capitalized and things like that. So really only substantial changes, the 2 members.
Real quick question on, this was back several years ago that we reduced it from, I believe it was 9 to 5.
There's 6 listed.
Okay. What it has been the participation rate at the lower level, at the 6?
I'll be honest, Commissioner, I don't know.
I do. We have trouble as it is gaining a quorum. I think Mr. Jansen, but I think his intent is to increase the number so that we can get broader participation from the community. And it raises the quorum numbers, but I think, is that not your goal? Broader participation?
Yes, I feel like that, a board that has the responsibility for the park system needs to have more public input and have, better citizen participation and just that they can actually conduct business with 3 members. And, to me, if they're going to take action that's going to affect the whole city, there ought to be more people on that board. So, and it has been larger in the past. It's been as large as 9 members. I think prior to this reduction, there were 7 members on there, actually. But
and what was does anybody know the participation level on a monthly basis?
My experience was, when I was on the park board for many, many years, was that we always had a quorum.
And we're struggling to meet quorum now?
On all of our boards.
I don't know about that. I'm not on that board anymore.
I've attended since the 1st of January. I've attended January and February, and they've all been there. But there's a lot of new members on that board, however, and I think they're pretty excited.
I just feel like a couple more people on there is going to be good for the board and good for the city.
I don't see any harm to come of it.
I think the commission going forward, we're going to rely more on the Parks Board, and I think having that additional couple of members would be important, and we can monitor it. If we don't have quorum for 2 or 3 meetings in a row, we may have to revisit the issue. But I would support this amendment.
6, you have to have 4 for a quorum. With 8, you're going to have 5.
You actually raised the level of the quorum by adding members, so
It's
you're
okay.
going to have
I have a harder time.
David.
I don't expect that.
I have a harder time getting.
But you got
5 people.
members to come in, too.
Wow.
Well, I would agree with, sorry. I would agree with the comment that the interest level is extremely high at the moment. I don't think they're going to have a problem from the people that I've talked to. I think there's going to be a lot of people at that meeting.
On that score, Commissioner, you could do us all a great service, as you all can, by seeking new faces for the park board. We tend to have the same tired old faces year after year. And what led to, frankly, a reduction in the numbers. We have a vibrant, very engaged, youthful presence on the board. It's been the best thing that's happened to us. And the Commissioner brings up an excellent point about garnering more community support. I would ask that each of you try to find a candidate to apply.
And my personal opinion is, it's good to have a mix of both the people with some experience as well as new people, because, otherwise you just kind of go over the same things over and over again if you don't know what's been transacted there in the past.
My question
In any case,
about the composition of that board, is there one member of this commission on that board?
Brother Stuber.
Yes.
Brother Stuber. Is that an appropriate number? Not that any of us are looking for another committee to go to, but would it be reasonable to increase that?
I don't know that it would. Basically, the idea is to have a voice for the commission on there, not necessarily for the commission to run the meeting or operate it. It's just.
Do we want to have an even number of people on the board, or do we need an odd number of people to have the voting to work out right?
So you don't have a stalemate.
I mean, because that just doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to me to put more people on the park board than we have on the commission in the first place. I mean, I don't want to add anybody. I think we need to make it less than we have now. But if we're going to add anybody, I'd rather add 1 than 2, so that it's not an even number.
well, my reason for adding 2 was that technically I think the board was established to have 5 members. And then I think after we were seated, I think they appointed Commissioner Stuber to the board, which made it 6. And so technically I was shooting for 7. But I don't think an even number is going to be a big issue. I don't remember very many tie votes. So
You still have to. Well, I guess that's true.
It's still an advisory committee.
Yeah, it's an advisory committee. They have very little ability to.
Tie vote is a loss, a defeat,
That might be all right too.
if that's the right way to say it. 4 and 4 is goes down.
Is there a motion? Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt this since I suggested it.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ron, second by, was that David?
Yes, sir.
Second by David. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. Item carries 6-1. Item 9, consent items.
Move for approval.
Mayor, I want to remove 9.1, if I may.
We don't have a second.
I'm sorry, what's the issue, Commissioner Jensen?
9.1 is the contract for the photography in the event center.
You want to consider it separately, Commissioner?
Yes. Yes, it may, I'd like to. I've got a couple questions.
I'll second that then.
Motion by Ron, second by David.
Is that to approve?
That is
10 items with the exception of 9.1?
Yes. Unless we have another area that needs to come out. And that,
I'm not certain that the motion was to approve. Commissioner Jansen, were you moving to approve
I will.
everything
I'll make a
except-
motion that we approve the consent items after removing 9.1.
Okay.
That's what I'm seconding.
Okay. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Now we go back to 9.1.
Mr. Clemby is here this evening. The information that I'm looking for is that at our study session here a couple of weeks ago, you gave us some description of the material you want to put in the event center.
Yes, sir.
And in looking at the list that was attached to this agenda,
Right.
it looks like most of these are these fabric.
Yes, the same fabric material
Yeah.
that I showed you.
And you indicated that those could be removed and replaced with something else?
With different messaging.
Yes.
About a third of those units will actually be implemented with advertising. Keller has already started selling spots on those walls to offset the cost and to turn into a profit center.
Well, that was part of my question. What cost is connected with putting new fabric in those? I mean, what would we charge someone to have their message in one of those frames, I guess? I don't know
Depending
exactly how to describe
depending
it.
on the size, anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a year for each one of those pieces.
And that would include I'm assuming you would be the one that would produce.
Yes, that's included.
Can anyone remove the panel and replace it, or is that a specialized
Anyone
job?
can do it, yes. I mean, not someone just walking through the facility. They
Yeah,
won't
I
be able to do
understand,
that.
but I
But
mean-
yes, a dedicated person can easily do
It's not something where it needs to be returned to you.
Oh, no. We've already come up with plans for a storage unit of tubes. When one of the art pieces comes down and the advertising piece goes up, we have a storage plan figured out to where we can hide, or not hide, but store those things so they'll be nice, so we can put them back into place after the advertising eclipses.
Okay, but the plan would be that when they produce the advertising piece, it would be returned to you, and you would put the advertising piece in it and then take it back to the event center?
I believe
No.
It stays there.
it would all stay at
stays
the
there.
event center.
Well, you'd go down there and replace it, or would they just replace it themselves?
They can just replace it themselves. It's a very simple
Okay,
process.
and you mentioned how much the charge would be. Is that part of that your charge, or you get something out of?
The contract includes everything to get started.
Right.
And then it will be on a piece-by-piece basis for the replacement, which is only at about 15% of the first cost, because you don't have to replace the frame.
So if you replace one of
But if it's an advertisement, that'll be covered by the advertiser.
So the profit of the advertising goes to the event center.
Right, absolutely.
And you could be retained to develop that advertising, and that would be a separate negotiation with you and the advertiser.
Right. It will have to be produced or designed by a designer and then come through me to have it printed.
The event center's not going to be buying new ones all the time. And
No, it'll be very seldom. And if they do buy a new one, it'll more than likely be an advertisement, which will be covered by the cost.
Which is a revenue generator for the event center, not for Mike Clemmy.
Oh, yeah, that's why I designed it this way. I wanted to keep it as flexible as it could possibly be and also be a revenue generator.
Well, this is a very significant, very significant upfront cost. What would you predict the lifespan of these?
20 years.
They're anywhere from 15 to 20 years, depending on how much sunlight they get. But I was pleased to see when they put the UV glass in all around the event center, so that'll almost guarantee 20 years. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this replaceable thing was as the city grew, that we could put new things up and make it more fresh as time goes by. We're also able to move them from place to place in the building because of the similar sizes that we have. So that'll kind of keep it fresh over time and not be that same old look every time that you visit the place. I couldn't come up with a more flexible system. It's a new product. It's being used widely. I know going in and out of the Oklahoma City airport lately, it's full of this product. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful stuff. And it's so flexible and cheap. I know that this seems like a lot of money, but there's a lot of other expenses that go into it. There's my photography time that's loaded into there. And I've been working on this for 2 years. Ever since the plans first arrived, I've been working on this plan to put this together. It's a labor of love for me, I can tell you that.
Well, I appreciate the information. Like I say, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as cheap.
Well, the rule of thumb in a public art project is 1% of total cost of the entire build-out of the facility. And we're well below that figure. Plus, we have a payback plan.
I make a motion, we approve the contract.
Second that.
Motion by Tammy, second by Mike. Any further discussion?
No.
Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. That was 9 point.
Make a motion that we approve the consent items 9.2 forward.
We've already done.
We did that
We've
first.
done that.
Oh,
We did that.
great.
We're ahead of you.
Man, I am on top of my game today.
Got you.
I'm allowed to make a mistake once every 4 years.
Should get short timers.
The first mistake.
Got you. You're allowed that one mistake, Drew. Item 10, we will recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. All of the trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority are present. Item 12, Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting. Item 12.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2012-2013 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $193,850.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Drew, second by Tammy. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 12.2, approval of claims in the amount of $283,343.27.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Drew, second by Lewis. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. We'll adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item 14, public discussion.
Ms. Massengale, this is your time.
My name is Renee Massengale. I've been here 3 years. Mr. Gilbert has done a phenomenal job of helping me out. But when he hit a brick wall, I had no choices left. And yes, Doctor, I do believe you remember me. I moved roughly 18 months ago over here to South Washington. in July of last year, you guys started a parking lot right across the street from me. How convenient. And then it was the construction crews, some of them hanging out on their equipment, others drunk, high, some of them working 24 hours a day. I know if you're like me, when it comes to your sleep, nobody gets between you and it. Since moving into this house, I have had at least 9 migraines, all construction related. None of them can tell me when it's going to be done. Nobody knows what's going on. There hasn't been one thing done over there since December 22nd of last year. Yes, I know the date very well, because I called in and said it will not be going on December 23rd. December 23rd is the anniversary of my first son's birth. Notice I said anniversary, not his birthday. Since that day, nothing has happened. Yeah, storm came through, electric went out for a while. I'm still getting migraines. Nobody can answer my questions. Nobody can be bothered to pick up a phone. The one person who has bothered to pick up a phone or to try and find out what the hell is going on and why is Mr. Gilbert. He has heard me rant, he has heard me rave, he has heard me say some less than kind things. Yet all the while, he was nothing but kind to me. When I came in here 2 weeks ago, tired, fed up, wanting answers, I got told, sit down. I got told, no, you can't ask anything. This is real nice. My boyfriend came here to get help because he was dying. And I stayed with him, all except for the last 6 weeks. He chose to leave. He died September 20th in Florida due to abuse and neglect. Not my doing. Mr. Gilbert helped me immensely when I was residing in East Indiana, where there was a problem with the driveway because the driveway had a city easement and the city didn't want to fix it. Why should a man who has cancer, rectal cancer, walk any more than is absolutely necessary from the car to the house? And that car, he had it repoed. So now I'm walking. Thank you for the sidewalks. Where I'm at, there's metal across the sidewalks. Every time it rains or it snows, I slide what's the first thing I do? I call here. I get one of your receptionists on the phone. Oh, you're threatening to sue. I didn't say a damn thing about suing. But I don't need anybody pushing me around. Last time I checked, even the WWE was announcing that it is illegal to bully anybody or harass them. If you won't tolerate it outside your home, why should I? I don't call and ask for anybody to come and shovel my snow and get me out the door. I don't call and say, hey, there's some idiot over here. I do call and say, hey, I see squirrels up on the electric lines. I do call and say, hey, these guys are doing this. And yes, I am the author of the just two, emails to the city that got absolutely no response from anybody in this room except Mr. Gilbert. I am not one to heap praise on anybody. I call it like I see it. And I don't know how to mince my words or be diplomatic. What I do know how to do, what happened at the close 2 weeks ago, found out that he didn't want to be doing. I have looked high and low for 2 years for notices of when the meetings are, where they're at, who attends. When I couldn't find none, I started making some phone calls. And not just about the parking lot. I started making phone calls finding out about other cities and how they deal with their town hall meetings. I started calling and finding out what they do on the construction. I got one contractor on the phone that absolutely laughed in my face. I told him it's been 9 months, 10 months. He said, are you kidding? It should have been done in a month or less. And laughed as he hung up. I've never done construction. I don't claim to. Nor am I a public speaker. But I do know this. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you won't have it at your home, why should I have it at mine? Go on ahead. Go down the road. Take a look. Right there behind Sequoia's boy home. Right across the street from the parking lot. And there is a wolf in the backyard of my neighbor across the street. That is now doing without the shade of trees because all the trees that were over there was ripped out. And where people are planning on putting things isn't going to provide her with any shade. I've done what I can do. I don't know what else to say. But apparently from the quiet in this room, it says volumes to me. I have left messages. Who's in charge? I have come and spoke to people. I have been upstairs and in Mr. Gilbert's office. I have asked, is the mayor available to talk to? Is the person who's in the office in his stead available? Not only was I told no, but I was told it's none of your business, and no, we're not going to take messages. It was over real good. See, I like someone else in here tonight. My father was Air Force for 22 years. But the things I learned weren't as nice as the things he learned. I am who I am. I am getting the help that I need. And I'm going to continue to do so. Without a court order, not because somebody else wants me to, but because I want it. I picked up one of these on the way in this evening. It's a calendar of events for the city. March 8th, March 9th, March 12th, 16th, 18th, and 21st. Oh, that's right. City really publishes things real well about when and where things are happening. Right there. I did not make it.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mike.
Second.
Second by Lewis. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.
Down here tonight.